What's going on, Came Every Day? It's been a minute. I would like to pardon myself from the minutes it's been since our last updates, but I have been an extremely busy man, and I have been fulfilling all my promises to myself, giving me much improved self-worth and a greater sense of confidence and power. Sorry about this. Let me switch modes real quick. I got the flex. You see that? It's probably giving you a headache. Hold on. Yeah, much better. Look at my nice face. My nice fat face. Yeah, I've been fulfilling my my promises to myself for self-improvement, and it's been radical. And I think it's about time I dive into these things. But before I declare myself a valuable published influencer of YouTube, I need to kind of get the momentum going, you know? I mean, I could like write a bunch of things down and talk about all these things I've been doing, which I probably just will end up rambling off anyways. But our last check-in was sometime in January. I remember eating a lot of foods, a lot of weird foods, and talking about simple things to improve your productivity. Well, I have been increasing my productive and successful habits, and I haven't let down. I haven't had a single, let's call it a single bad day in 2019 so far. I've just been continuing to build and build and build. First things first, my diet is pretty much exactly the same. I haven't changed really anything. I mean, I've eaten a couple different things here and there, but I essentially stick to the same principles that I was doing before, which is, holy crap. Oh, I'm sorry, I held something down. Grass-fed meats. I need to eat these. This is bone marrow. Every once in a while I work in some fat, duck fat to cook with. Grass-fed ground beef mainly, pasture-raised eggs, raw cheese. You can get raw cheese in any state, I've learned. And a lot of vitamin D, as you can tell from the nice color on my face, because it's now springtime here. Another thing I would like to say is it got really cold, and we got a lot of snow where I live. So it was pretty much like a kind of a grind, nose to the grindstone type of situation. Let's resume since January. So in January and in December, I was getting more and more into motivational type of books, and not really books yet, but mainly people on YouTube who were talking about books and kind of relaying motivational things and whatnot, whether it was someone like Jordan Peterson or someone like almost like a vlogger where they did like, I don't know, like a smaller type of show. I personally I'm doing that thing again. I personally really liked George Bruno at the time. He was a nice kind of morning little like listen to something to you know, get yourself going. Not really get yourself going, but just kind of like while you were doing good, you had someone else listen to. Because if many of you know, I live a kind of an isolated, you know, kind of I don't want to say lonely because it doesn't really describe me at the moment, but like I've definitely have like some isolated, lonely times, especially in the last 4 years. I've spent a ton of time alone, you know, and yeah, and I think that was, you know, being isolated and being alone had dramatic effects on my personality, negative effects on my personality and life, and I think my diet as well. So those kind of things, you know, as soon as I've been trying to tackle these things, I've been seeing so much improvement in my life. One of the things that I've done, which I think is kind of a weird, not weird, but almost like a shocking thing that I did, because I never really saw myself doing it, and now that I've done it, I kind of wish I did it years and years ago, is I went and I got a job. I got a normal job, and it's the reasons I wanted to get. Well, here was my thought process in the beginning. Is I needed to get out. I needed to like go do something with people and whatnot. And I was like, well, I don't drink. I don't go out, so I don't want to like I'm not like gonna go to bars or like try and socialize myself and like I'm not gonna go play trivia night or whatever once a week and be like, I'm kind of an intense person. So I was like, well, why don't you go get like some kind of like bartending job? And I thought that was a good idea because it's unconventional. Because I didn't want to get some kind of 9-to-5 job. I didn't want to get some, it wasn't going to be like that. I need like a part-time social like thing to do just to engage myself. So I went to a bartending school, learned a bit about alcohol and all that stuff. And then through searching for a job, I found a gig up at Lake Tahoe being a server for cocktails, which if you don't know anything about casinos, basically if you're gaming, you can serve people cocktails. And I was like, that's perfect, because you make a bunch of money in cash. So I wanted to go out and socialize, but I also wanted to be productive with building, I guess, like revenue, although it's kind of the revenue I get from my job is it's definitely enough to keep me going up there, and it's all cash, so I get to pay for like a ton of my stuff and my personal stuff with cash, which is really great for your finances if you run a business, because you can't really, you don't have to like worry about write-offs and the government really if you're dealing with cash and buying things with cash and whatnot. It's kind of a nice cheat code, but it's been really great. Like my attitude up there is exceptional. It's made me really humble. I really now that I've done this, I really wish I went and got a job in like 2015, because I've always been pretty well set off of music to not go and work and like financially, but I didn't really realize the social repercussions I was having on myself, because when I got kind of getting off, it's kind of a thing, because after 2013, I told my management and agents that I didn't want to play any more shows, and I kind of got really removed and isolated in 2014 and really down. That's when I started getting really depressed. I was kind of getting depressed in 2013, and then 15 I moved to Reno and I fired my whole team. And I just was like I don't know how to, like a recluse, a grumpy recluse. I made music every day, but I didn't put music out. I made a ton of music and I never released it. I just like had no infrastructure. I had no motivation into myself, and there's a lot of bad habits I developed in this time. And I probably should have gotten a job then, because it probably would have really helped me out to socialize and just be around people. Like, I work like a swing shift now, and I only work like, I don't know how many hours, usually less than 7. 7's kind of the max I'll work, but sometimes it's like 3 or 4. And I get to drive up to the lake, and I listen to an audiobook on my way, and I get there, and I get to say hello to like a bunch of people and smile to a bunch of people I work with. And then I get to work with like random people who are going to the casino to enjoy themselves, and I do a really good job. And I've noticed these huge improvements in my life doing these things. One of the first times I noticed it is the job's also really cool with me traveling. Like, since our last talks, I've done a ton of traveling. I've played probably a dozen cities, which is sick, because the job's been letting me do this stuff, and I basically am just constantly doing something busy and productive. Every day I'm on like a kind of a focused grind. Sorry, I'm kind of distracted by the UPS guy. But so yeah, I noticed right away, because when I'd go to the airport, it was kind of the only time I was ever around not just people but larger amounts of people, and it was always kind of like stressful. Not stressful, but it's some kind of weird social thing. And that's not me. I'm a very social person. I'm never afraid of people. I'm usually really, really good with people, and I think that's really one of my strong points. So I, was definitely became a weirdo when I started to stop hanging around people. And as soon as I was working at the lake for a couple weeks and I would fly, I noticed that I was so much more at ease at the airport and around anyone I came in contact with, and I was just in such a better mood. And not just in such a better mood, but I was way more grateful for the opportunities to travel and to play shows and stuff. And I just had a lot more gratitude in my life overall. So it was definitely a good thing for me to do. That's something that I really should have done a long time ago. And I think people have told me, you should get a job or something. But I always kind of because I was not really right, I kind of would always get defensive, which is, when someone's getting defensive, it usually means there's something there. And I was getting defensive, I don't need to get a job. Why do you want me to get a job? Don't you just want me to keep doing or achieving or trying to do what I'm been doing with success and kind of is my dream and my optimal career, which is doing the things that Cameron Argon does. And so I was kind of almost took offense every time, but I didn't realize the many benefits to a job besides just getting a paycheck or money or whatever, So that's definitely something I wanted to say that I did this year that is really attributed to a lot of success and happiness in my life. And, lately it's been, I'll get to some more parts I'm missing, but lately it's been great because I work a swing shift, which is in the afternoon. So I wake up in the morning early. I have a nice morning routine that I'll tell you right now. I basically get up, I have my phone on it, and a lot of these things I'm talking about, I might make videos in the future. It's kind of just a welcome back to Kim Everyday video or whatever, because I miss you guys, and you guys need me. This world needs me to spread my mental seeds, and I need it. I love the interaction and the socialness I get out of Kim every day, and I've really been itching to make videos again recently. I've just been kind of waiting for the right time, and I think when the right time is coming up soon, I don't want to do a momentum upkeep, so I figured I'd just start talking right now, and we'll get to the more nitty-gritty videos in the next couple months. But my morning routine, sorry about that. My morning routine is before I go to bed, I put my phone in airplane mode. I usually put on a podcast on a timer just so I don't get bored and I don't get restless. I can kind of just zone out and fall. I don't remember anything I listen to, so I just pretty much zone out pretty quickly. On airplane mode for no distractions. I wake up. I don't even look at my phone. I went and got a watch. It's a G-Shock, just so I can tell time and stuff without looking at my watch or my phone, And then I get up, I have a breakfast, which is usually liquid of raw milk and raw eggs. And then I go out in my backyard and I have a book, and I wear shorts, I take off my shirt, and I sit in the backyard and read for at least a half an hour. And I try, lately I've been reading this Success Habits, which is really nice because it kind of is about daily routines. So I'm able to read about how to improve daily routines while having a good daily routine. So it's just a nice, and a lot of things I've been reading in this book have been in line with a lot of the things I've been doing, and it's just really nice to read almost like a verbalization of my thoughts and someone else verbalizing them. I know many can relate to that. So yeah, I do that. Then I have a full day of basically kicking ass, and I'm just gunning. I'm constantly getting better at limiting distractions and increasing my productivity, and I've gotten so much shit done this year. And even on my job, for a while I was working a graveyard shift to help out, and I was just killing it. I was traveling on the weekends. I was doing a ton of work I just was unstoppable. Because when it's just me doing music, like I'll easily work on music for like 10 to 12 hours, give or take, which is a lot of time. And I think I do really well taking breaks and thinking about stuff versus just constantly grinding. So there was a period recently where I was working on, because Disfiguring the Goddess is finished. It's currently in mastering right now, but when I was wrapping up the final bits for mastering, I took like a few months off after I finished it musically to mix it, because I knew I needed to wait for some infrastructure, which I got, which I'll talk about pretty soon. And I was basically working on Disfiguring for like 4 hours every day, which was a great amount of time, 4 or 5, give or take. My dog is a pit bull, and she always like kind of barks at dogs walking by, and sometimes if it's the right type of dog, she'll like lunge at the fence, and she just cracked open the fence, and the person was kind of scared on the other side. I got to replace that board. But I would, instead of like when I was mixing it, it was really timely, and had to really space it out so I wasn't blowing it out of proportion. When you overwork something or you spend too much time on something and you make it worse, I was doing a great job avoiding that by spending a lower amount of time and then going to work and just thinking about it. And, you get breaks and stuff, and I'd watch videos and whatnot. I never eat at work. They give you, like, food and shit, but I eat like a king when I'm home. So I just go and I sit quietly, and I usually watch YouTube videos or whatever. So at the time I was watching videos on mixing and whatnot, and I kind of feel like it was so much better for me to be going somewhere every day working on that album, because I work at home too, and that has its benefits with music. I mean, with anything, if you work at home, it really has its benefits. You can spend more time getting stuff done, but it also has some slight drawbacks with intensity and balance in your life. And I think that's something I really struggled with, was incorporating proper balance and whatnot. And so that's just, one example of how I've liked kind of adding something else that's productive to my situation, that's kind of benefited everything overall. So when I first got the job, I had a lot of shows booked, and the spring I had a pretty good amount of shows. Like every weekend I had a show, and I was playing, and I was doing well, and I was creating all these great habits, and I was actually making some really good music during this time too, some killer tunes. And I knew deep down that I needed infrastructure, and I knew where I needed it. So I called up my old original manager from 2011 to 2014, and we were really close. Like, we would talk every day. We were really good friends, and we worked together on a really high level. And we did a lot of great work together. We did all the Disfiguring albums, all the Big Chocolate releases. We did a bunch of licensing work. We played a bunch of festivals. We did a few great tours. We went to Japan, went to Mexico, we went to Australia. He actually came to Japan with me. I actually have a lot of footage from when I went to Japan still that I've never used, because I've been like a grump, but I should try and get that footage up on this YouTube channel just to share stuff or whatever. But I called him up, and I basically talked. Their first conversation was probably about an hour and a half of me telling him what I've been going through since we stopped working together in 2015. I talked to him about, living in Reno, and I talked to him about losing it in Reno, and then moving to my parents' house briefly, and then to try and move to LA, and then I moved to LA with the next girlfriend that he knows very well as well, and that it didn't work out at all, and that it was a really crummy situation, and then I moved back to Minden, and I just kind of like had a hard time with myself on a lot of levels that I don't think I was really aware of, I was, and then my parents moved, and then I started renting their old house, which is this house now, and then I kind of had been slowly getting it together, and I told them about the diet stuff that I fixed in my life, and I told him about the job that I just got. At the time, I just got it, and for a couple months, he was really pleased to hear everything, and it was a really great conversation because we both have a lot of admiration and love for each other still, and we ended the business relationship on good terms. No one did anything wrong, and because they did a great job with me. I just was kind of like losing my mind for a while. And, it was a good conversation. So over the next few months, over the time I had all these gigs and whatnot, we would talk periodically, and he would talk with the rest of his company, who I know very well, and would all had a hand in managing me before. And he actually lives in Chicago, and the company's from New York. And when I went to Chicago, which was one of the last stops on my last spring tour, we met up, and after weeks and weeks of talking, we just decided to do it again. So I'm getting managed by the same people who I've done most of my big stuff with, and these are people who know me really, really well, and they not just know me really well, but we work together really well, and things have been kind of really moving since we've gotten back together, and there's a ton of stuff planned for the future, including, if you're a fan of Disfiguring on Facebook, you've hopefully read this post, but, the Disfiguring stuff is currently in mastering, and that's scheduled to be released. I don't want to say any dates because it's not set in stone yet, and I don't want to guarantee anything, but there's definitely dates arising. And there's definitely a lot of Big Chocolate music that's just been in the floodgates. Like, I have music that's mastered and ready to go that I haven't been putting out because I just didn't have the infrastructure. So I would say there's a couple Big Chocolate things that are coming out really soon. I'm going to be making more videos, so I'll make definitely some videos about these things and talk more about myself and try and get on the same page as everyone. This is a bit of a longer video, and I apologize, but I'm trying to get the momentum going with us again, and also check in and let everyone know I'm doing fantastic, and that good things are unfolding and things are coming along, both in my own personal life and in my professional life, which is, all the good musical things coming forth. I'm super stoked about the Disfiguring. It's being mastered by an engineer that I really like, so I'm super eager to hear what goes on with it. Not much has changed. I've had a big merch sale. I've sold almost all my merch. I'm selling my merch really cheap. If you guys want to go pick up some random Big Chocolate stuff, it's all old stuff, so if you've been a fan since like 2011, you might see some stuff. I don't really have any more studio gear. I guess we could talk about that stuff later. I don't know. Wanted to let everyone know I'm doing good. I've gained a bunch of weight. I should do a video about my weight gain at some point soon, but I figured I'd just make one big video about everything on my mind and then kind of, go back and break things down instead of just coming out with like some random video. It's like my weight gain, But I think last October I weighed 117 pounds, and now I weigh 152 pounds. And I just started working out again, like literally a week ago. So that feels good. Let me show everybody my body, because I remember I was doing that a lot. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so things are really good. Curious to see how all you guys are doing. If you've made it this far in the video and you want to comment something about how you've been or something, I'd love to read it. And yeah, more shit in the future. Just know I've been doing really well, and I've been reading a lot. I've been listening to a lot of books. I've been eating really well. I've been doing really well. I'm working again with the Dream Team. The band is back together. There's music that is made, that is ready to go, being submitted. There's music that is being finished up. There is music that is being thought of. And I've never felt more driven and confident in my life, and I just feel ready for the future, and I feel ready to brace the adversity of tomorrow and whatever I could come into. But speaking of tomorrow, I'm more focused on today than really anything else. I still make lists. They still help out a lot. I don't know. I still write in a journal. Actually, I haven't written in a journal in a while because I've just been really busy. I guess I could write more about the things I've been learning and stuff, but the lists right now are kind of doing it for me as I'm really seeing the real life kind of results of my discipline and focus and my striving for personal success. And one of the things I think will make me feel more successful is being more connected to more people and being able to help more people with my own energy and my own vibrancy of kind of I don't want to say just entertaining, but also just kind of connecting in a sense, and eventually sharing more about my story, both in things I've been improved on, but also my story once things are more of a visible success, and I can kind of keep it more 100 with everybody, because I've been keeping it hella 100 with myself, which is something I really encourage everyone to do more of. And it's hard. Like I went years without keeping 100 with myself, and you think you are, but you aren't, and things are good. But yeah, peace. Came every day. It's always a pleasure. It's been a hell of a ride since 2010 when we started this mofo, and I don't see any signs of me going away. I actually see a lot more signs of me making more videos along the way. So, long ass video, probably a bit of a weird timeline. This video is not supposed to be about me getting a job, but I talked about it a good amount because it was surprising. One of the big influences that I wanted to get a job was I watched this Jordan Peterson lecture where he was talking about depressed people, and one of the main things, he was like talking about 3 key things that depressed people needed, and if they didn't have them, they were basically like, effed. And one of the things was a job, and I was like, I have a job, like a financial stability, but it was a dooming situation because it's kind of based off my own motivation and success, and because I wasn't having personal success or motivation, it definitely wasn't going to go anywhere. And as soon as I started to fix all the other things, I started to get more motivation and success in my personal life, and now I'm having a lot more success with music, and I just can't wait for some time to pass. Time's been going so fast but so slow. Like, I'll say it here and I'll say it here again, that you can radically change yourself in like 4 to 6 months. 6 months sounds a little bit long, but 4, you can definitely radically change yourself. And I know it's going to take, I want to say in the next, let's say it took me 6 months to get here, like in 6 months from now, I think things will be a lot more radically reflected off of my radical changes. And I kind of want to push that for a little while. As you can definitely change yourself pretty quickly. I'll probably make a video about that as well. There's loads of video bits in here that I'll sit down and crank out for the internet. But yeah, I saw that Jordan Peterson thing, and it was about how if you don't have a job, you're probably going to be depressed. And I was like, I make music every day, but I have zero engagement with anything. I didn't even have management, you know what I mean? I didn't even have someone to really build my ideas off of, or even like just report to. Reporting your progress and ideas to someone is really good because it helps you. And I have like a couple people that I definitely report things to, and if they're watching this, they're probably thinking to themselves, which they should be. But here's the culprit. Here's my N64. GoldenEye, baby. But it's different when you have someone in your team that's invested in what you're invested in, and you all can prosper together off the same things like you do with a connection like a manager. And so I think it was a really good call. My goal was to work at this job for as long as I can, and I know at some point, at some point I'm planning on moving, so there is a kind of a timeline for this. I think I'm going to move next spring. So I'll probably work here throughout the spring, and then when I move, I hopefully my plans for moving is to be in an environment that really adds a lot of balance to my life in terms of socialization, which is the biggest one, and also in terms of relationships, both with friends and family and whatever kind of relationships I need in my life. I have really good connections with my family here, but it's if I'm not doing well, why am I even here? Because I'm not a good person to be around. But I've been doing so well. I've been back to my old self in the family events, and I'm again a pleasure to be around, which is just good for everybody. I'm receptive. I listen so much better, and I just have such a better energy to give off. So I'm not trying to, I don't know, but I just want to, I'm definitely going to leave this job at some point. When I move, I'm trying to move to a place where I don't have to get a job to fulfill myself. Like I need that kind of thing going on here. I'd like to have something else in my life to, benefit everything else in place of the job. We'll see how things go. But I'm definitely taking it day by day. Always, I'm planning ahead. I'm looking ahead. But I'm focused on today. If you focus on today, tomorrow kind of sort itself out, and you can focus on tomorrow when it's today. And I'm getting a little rambly. It tends to happen when you walk around in circles in your house and talk to a camera. I got respect for those podcast people who just kind of talk into a microphone. I guess they got a little more structure, and they don't do as big of a wrap-up video at once, But here's my milk jars for closing out things where I get my raw milk in. I still go to the same crazy lady. Parker Winans lives here currently still. He's actually moving out in about a month though, so we got to figure out who's going to be moving in because I don't want to live here by myself. Now that Disfiguring the Goddess is done too, I'm doing more proactive things like clearing up clutter and throwing away stuff that should have been thrown away literally a year ago. And one of the big things that we're waiting for is this table that's been here for literally a year. It was my parents, and then they've kind of forgotten about it, and it's been on Craigslist with no bites, so I'm going to take it to the church and just give it away. But all things in time. Shout out Disfiguring the Goddess. Shout out this picture my sister got me. It's actually pretty sweet. And shout out the Swaby brothers. And shout out Kim Kardashian. Shout out to the sun. Shout out to Gumby. Shout out to the snake eating a man. Shout out to you. Shout out to me. And I don't know. Can't believe you've listened this long if it's been this long. I gotta shut up. But Yeah.